My name's Arya Voss, 18 years old. The day I graduated, I discovered that freedom sometimes looks like a bus stop in June, humid air, sticky polyester gown clinging to my legs. You'd think the worst part would be tripping on stage. Wrong. The real humiliation comes 20 minutes later when your parents pull up to the curb, engine still running. Mom leans across the seat, sunglasses like armor, chewing gum with the focus of a debt collector. Good luck out there, huh? She says, waving like I'm off to summer camp. Dad doesn't even look up. No hug, no photo, just a pity card with $60 and a half-empty Gatorade. The car turns the corner, shrinking out of view. I stand there with a balloon repeatedly bopping me in the head, like it's in on the joke. 18. No job. No college acceptance. No plan. Just a torn backpack from sophomore year and a Greyhound schedule someone printed so they wouldn't have to say, please don't come home. The metal bench is colder than it should be under a sun that's roasting birds midair. A pigeon keeps trying to eat my shoelaces. I share peanut M&Ms with a guy named Kurt who swears he's headed to Reno to become either a magician or a cult leader, whichever pays faster. Somewhere between his fifth prophecy and the wheeze of a bus coughing up dust, something inside me loosens. I am terrifyingly free. I don't exactly choose a destination, just a terminal with working toilets. The bus spits me out in a town called Brookfield. Population barely visible. Gas stations double as diners, and every help wanted sign looks older than the clerk behind the counter. After bus fare and a vending machine dinner, I have $38 left. Phone battery at 12%. Feet covered in blisters arguing about who owns me. But for the first time, time itself belongs to me. The motel's called Sunny Pines. There are no pines. Even the sun seems to avoid the place out of courtesy. Its flickering neon sign apologizes more than it advertises. The clerk looks like she hasn't slept since the Bush administration. How long you stayin'? She asks. I slide a 20 across the counter. Until this runs out. The room smells like old carpet and broken promises. The lock works. The water runs. The microwave miraculously survives a dollar store burrito. By my new standards, paradise. I collapse on a lumpy mattress, staring at a ceiling that looks like ghosts have water damaged it. I open my notebook because I'm the kind of girl who writes what she's too scared to say and title a page Arya's survival guide. Chapter 1. I list what I can do. Make eggs. Scrambled only. Change a tire. Thank you, YouTube, not Dad. Fix a dripping faucet. Play guitar adequately. If everyone's a little drunk. And in bold, not die. Hopefully. Not much. But more than I had this morning. The gas station manager hires me after a handshake that feels borderline tetanus. $8.50 an hour. Cash under the table. Mornings. Evenings. I mop floors at the Chinese buffet. Sundays, I become a dish machine disguised as a girl at a diner called Rita's. Its wallpaper a time capsule from 1983. Nights are loud with silence, the kind that used to mean punishment in a house that never stopped yelling. I scroll old messages, trying to remember what it felt like to matter to someone. Graduation texts read like fortune cookies. Congrats. Good luck out there. Stay in touch. I don't. They don't. But I keep going. Not with the dramatic fury I sometimes fantasize about, but with the small, steady burn of a pilot light I refuse to let die. Every time I hear my mother's good luck out there, I picture the car turning that corner, and I let that image teach me how to sand down the parts of me still begging for permission. Rita's is where I meet Joe, if she likes you. Purple hair fading into memory. Eyes tired from too many closing shifts. Sarcasm sharp enough to cut drywall. New girl, she asks, flicking ash into the alley. You look like you fell out of a college brochure titled What Not to Do After Graduation. I raise a soapy hand. Arya. She smirks. Joe. I used to have dreams too. She introduces me to Bruno, her three-legged dog with more personality than any adult who's ever told me to be realistic. Joe also brings me to Caleb, who runs a second-hand furniture shop that smells like lemon oil and untold stories. He needs help refinishing pieces in the back. Pays garbage, Joe warns. He's weird. but he'll feed you sandwiches. 3 green flags. So I add a third job to a resume that's starting to look like a cry for help. Convenience clerk, buffet janitor, dish rat, woodshop gopher. Caleb's hands are maps, roads of scars, cities of callous. He teaches me how to sand right, how to follow the wood grain, how to see the shape hidden in a wounded board. You've got patience, he says once as if it's sacred. No adult has ever given me a compliment without a but glued to the end. You're reliable, but you're diligent, but this time it's just you've got patience. I go to the bathroom, wash my face, and cry quietly enough that even the faucet doesn't notice. At night, I draw on receipt backs, napkins, notebook pages, shelves, small desks, a ridiculous wine rack nobody needs. I've got nothing but Caleb's lone tools, a few clamps, and a YouTube playlist called Woodworking for Idiots, which is both rude and accurate. Joe catches me sketching. You good? Just messing around. She squints. That's a shelf, right? That was the goal. Could have fooled me. Looks like modern art's sad cousin. She takes a photo anyway and sends it to her cousin Lena, who manages a home boutique 2 towns over. 2 weeks later, Lena emails, "Can you build the shelf you sketched? Got any more designs?" My first instinct is no. I share a microwave with centipedes. I live above a tire shop whose walls cry when it rains. I am all hustle, zero infrastructure. Joe says, don't be an idiot. Say yes, figure it out after. So I do. I spend 4 nights in Caleb's back room, coaxing a shelf out of reclaimed pine, earning splinters like merit badges. When I deliver it, Lena hands me $150 and asks for 4 more by month's end. I step into the sunlight. It feels like a promotion. My phone finally dies forever, so I call Joe from a payphone and announce it like breaking national news. They liked it. She snorts. No SH sugar. You made it. It's not success. It's a spark. But after so many nights in silence, I know a spark can be a lighthouse if you guard it from the wind. Work begins to multiply. Caleb lets me earn workshop hours by sanding his antiques on weekends. My alarm goes off at 5:15 a.m., and I learn the rhythm of clamps and glue, the slow choreography of patience as each piece dries beneath a fan. On my wall, I tape a note that reads, "Break the cycle." Every dollar I can spare slips into an envelope marked with those same words. It isn't for revenge. It's for freedom. Enough space that no other voice can drown out my own. One evening, Caleb watches as I polish a tabletop until it shines like it remembers the forest it once belonged to. Name your thing, he says. Every shop's got one. I tell him I don't know yet. It's barely a shop, just a corner, a stool made from a milk crate. But I jot down a few words anyway. Grain, grace, better than before. I don't realize I'm naming my life. The weeks blur. I work the hours of 5 people and eat like a raccoon with a debit card. I keep sketching. I keep saying yes. The envelope stays tucked under the motel Bible, both, in their own way, maps. Then one Tuesday, the air smells like rain and citrus cleaner. Lena's friend places an order for a custom bench. Nothing fancy, she writes. Just something honest that won't wobble. I build it over 3 long nights, fueled by elbows and doubt, then haul it in a borrowed pickup whose dashboard celebrates Christmas all year. She pays in cash and thanks, then asks the question that makes my hand shake. Do you ship? That night, I don't sleep. Not from fear this time, but from momentum. For once, it feels like my life's wheels have finally caught traction. Back at the motel, the balloon from graduation has shriveled into a rubber comma. I think about popping it, then don't. Instead, I tie it to my notebook like a period I refuse to use. On a fresh page, I write, Grain and Grace. Arya Voss. It isn't a business yet. It's a dare. Somewhere in the hum of the cheap motel air, I finally understand why the bus stop that day had felt like a guillotine that never fell. My family didn't exile me for being nothing. They did it because I refused to be their something. They won't notice me again until someone else tells them to. So I'll make myself impossible to overlook on my own terms. Momentum doesn't come with fanfare. It slips in quietly, like an extra pair of hands you didn't realize belonged to you. Orders trickle in, then start stacking. The envelope mark break the cycle begins to thicken, full enough to feel like a secret. Caleb introduces me to vendors by saying, "This is Arya. She understands what would wants." It sounds poetic. Really, it's just patience and sandpaper. Still, I tuck the phrase in my pocket like a charm. Lena's boutique becomes my first repeat client and my best promotion. She fills my shelves with plants that look expensive and books that no one actually reads. Someone tags a photo online, then another. It's not viral, it's steady, like rain carving a path down glass until a groove forms. I borrow a thrifted camera to photograph my work and spend my nights learning to edit on a laptop that wheezes like it's allergic to effort. I throw together a simple website. It loads slowly, but it loads. The header reads grain and grace because the best things I make come from paying attention and forgiving my mistakes. That's when Marcus walks in. Technically, she slips in through my DMs, her profile, a neat little gallery of soft light and 18 croissants. "Love your style," she writes. Saw Marcus's feature. "Stunning. I handle boutique PR campaigns. If you're ever open to chatting about brand storytelling, I'd love to connect." Later, when I bring up her name, I catch the flicker of recognition in Marcus's eyes. He says it like he's dusting off a memory he'd tucked away. "We dated," he admits, "a while back. She's talented." The pause after talented feels like its own paragraph. "No worries," I tell him. "I'm not exactly shopping." "Good," he says, smiling the kind of smile that doesn't need to prove anything. Work gains momentum. I bring on 2 part-time helpers, Nico and Ray, both quick with their hands and earnest enough to treat every clamp like a promise. Caleb still refuses to charge for shop hours. "You're the one keeping the lights on and the story's alive now." He shrugs. I start to believe in the we when I say the shop. Not the royal kind, but the collective one. Marcus posts hands make homes to a local business spotlight page. It gets picked up by a design account that knows exactly how to make beige look enviable. A small magazine emails to ask 3 questions that are really the same one. "Why do you do this?" I answer truthfully. Because it doesn't lie when you listen. Because creating is how I pray without asking for anything. Because I'm shaping a life that no longer folds into a pity card. When the feature runs, I brace for vulnerability. Instead, I feel found, as if the map finally figured out where I've been standing all along. Then comes another ping. Sienna again, swift to claim closeness. "Saw the article. Beautiful work. Your story hits home. I actually know your family. Small world. Pam's such a gem. We're on the same charity board." I read it 3 times, not because it's deep, but because it turns a key in a lock I didn't realize existed. Sienna knows my Aunt Pam, the curator of appearances, the queen of faux cursive captions. The quiet river between my work and my past has suddenly merged, pretending it was never 2 streams. Coincidence? I ask Marcus. He exhales. Sienna doesn't do coincidence. She does opportunity. I can see it. Sienna at some luncheon, my aunt slicing brownies into perfect little squares that taste like sugar and forgiveness. "You know Arya? She's wonderful," Sienna would say, letting my name rise like a balloon she's still holding by the string. And just like that, sparkle. The muted family group chat, I never asked for lights up with my name, as if I've been resurrected as a headline. A 3rd message follows from Angela B. "We're all so proud of you." The we lands like a bruise pressed by an old ring. I don't reply. Not yet. Silence has its uses. Instead, I answer Ray's question about staying, teach Nico how to trust his I'm more than his fear, and say yes to a cafe counter that will take 3 weeks and every clamp we own. 3 shall ship out to a boutique in a state I've never seen. I trade my motel key for the lease on a 200 square foot studio with skylights and concrete floors, a space that smells like sawdust and second chances. I paint the walls white, hang a crooked wooden sign that reads, "Build better than they remember you," and plug in a Bluetooth speaker that plays songs like Friends Who Never Need Explaining. On move-in day, Marcus brings a plant I'll inevitably forget to water and a drill press from a friend who insists on half price. Caleb arrives at 6 with coffee and a grin. Joe shows up at 8, Bruno in his bandana, donuts in hand, claims they're medicinal. We throw open the back doors and the light spills in like relief. I tack the reunion flyer onto the fridge. It looks smaller here, like the room itself is editing history. When I reach for an iced coffee, the paper flutters and I imagine my mother's, father's, and aunt's hands trying to smooth it into something frameable. Marcus catches me looking. You get to choose how you enter that story. He says softly, stepping close but not too close. Or if you enter it at all. Quiet power, I murmur, remembering his old phrase when he booked that limo service once. Quiet power, loud horn. A grin ghosts across my lips. But with a loud horn, I add. He laughs quietly. I like you. I don't say I like you, too. I just place my hand over his. The hum of the shop surrounds us, approving. He squeezes once and lets go. Permission and respect wrapped into one gesture. I had known I could have both. That night, after everyone leaves, I sweep until the broom stops pretending there's more to do. I sit on a stool, flipping through my old sketchbook, its covers softened by time and use. So many drafts of tables, shelves, and versions of me. Then I open a new notebook. Across the top, grain and grace. Year 2. Beneath it, goals, none of them about proving anything. Better joinery. A coffee table line. Train Ray in finishing. Teach Nico to quote without flinching. Take Sundays off, unless the deadline bites. My eyes drift to the flyer again. The family never noticed when I was drowning. They never do. They appear when they smell gold or a story that flatters them. Sienna's messages only confirm what the air already knows. Word travels beautifully when it serves someone else. I won't chase it. If I go, I'll arrive as myself, not as their reflection. I close the notebook and switch off the lights. The shop holds the dark like an old friend. Outside, the night doesn't feel empty. It feels open, like a space waiting to be furnished. Tomorrow, more hands, more with grain, more grace, and maybe, finally, a decision. The flyer stays on the fridge for 2 weeks, edges curling, that cartoon family smiling like they never left anyone behind. Each time I grab cold brew or takeout, it dares me to pretend I don't care. I can almost hear my mother's voice. We just thought you'd like to reconnect. Reconnect. As if I'd been a socket they'd simply forgotten to plug in. Joe's the first to name it. She stops by one night, Bruno prancing in his bandana. She spots the flyer, whistles. You going? Haven't decided. She smirks. Planning to show up invisible? All humble and mysterious? Maybe. You liar. She snatches the flyer. This is your origin story. You don't show up like a ghost. You show up like the plot twist. Marcus, ever the steady current, puts it differently later. You don't owe them an explanation. But if you go as who you've become, not the girl they left behind. So I call Leo, a client who owes me a favor. He runs a small but high-end limo service. I need something subtle but impossible to ignore, I tell him. He chuckles. Quiet power, loud horn. Exactly. On the day itself, I stand before the mirror, hands trembling, not from fear, but from muscle memory, from the old reflex of expecting judgment. I wear white linen, the kind that speaks confidence, not apology. My hair was pinned low. The brown leather watch on my wrist, the one Marcus gifted me after my first major order cleared, catching the light. I wore my best boots too, the pair I'd bought quietly after my first $1,000 sale, never telling anyone. Marcus couldn't make it, business trip, but he'd sent one message before boarding, you've already won. The limo pulled up right at noon. Sleek, black, unassuming, polished enough to mirror the past, but not invited in. As it glided into the park, heads turned. Conversation stalled. A frisbee veered off course. The driver opened the door like I was royalty, and I stepped out slowly, deliberately, the kind of slow that turns silence into a memory. For a few seconds, no one recognized me. My mother's hand flew to her chest. My father froze mid-pour, plastic cup in hand. And Natalie, my sister, the family's golden child turned small-town influencer, said my name like it was a password. Arya. I smiled. Hey, stranger. No one spoke for a beat too long. I walked to the drink table, poured myself some lemonade, and surveyed the spread like it was a small kingdom under review. The quiet was exquisite, a pause that finally belonged to me. Mom approached first, clutching a napkin as if it could soak up the years between us. You look well. Nice setup, I said, nodding toward the table. Oh, yes. Potluck. Everyone brought something. I brought mine too, I said, tilting my chin toward the limo. She blinked, lost for words. Then Dad came over, moving slower, still holding his drink like a shield. Didn't expect you. I didn't expect the bus stop, I replied, calm for calm. We stood there, two people sharing a jawline, a surname, and almost nothing else. You've done well, he said at last. I know, I answered quietly. You could have called. You could have turned around. He looked away. We thought you needed space. Space isn't the same as abandonment, I said, but it does teach you who you are. He had no response for that. Then came the chorus, relatives buzzing like curious bees, compliments disguised as revisionist history. We always knew you'd land on your feet. Guess we raised you tough. Bet you're grateful for those hard lessons now. I smiled without confirming. They were rewriting the past in real time, and I let them. Correcting it would mean giving it power, and I owed them no such clarity. Then, a voice I didn't expect. Wow, this is surreal. Sienna. She stood near the dessert table, hair flawless, wearing soft beige, as if redemption had a dress code. Small world, right? She said, like this was some networking brunch. I blinked. You're here. Your Aunt Pam invited me. We met at a charity gala. I told her about your work. She was so proud. And there it was, the PR about tying it all together. My success, repackaged into their family talking point, curated by the woman who used to date my boyfriend. Appreciate the exposure, I said. She smiled, sweetly rehearsed. I just wanted them to see how far you've come. I'm sure you did. Her gaze flickered, just a hint of sharpness, and then she drifted toward the lemonade stand. Mission complete. The afternoon stretched under too much sun and too many half-hearted compliments. My cousin Bailey, the same one who once called me a background character, handed me a plate of pulled pork like we were lifelong friends. Uncle Mike slapped my shoulder and asked if I still played with wood. I offered polite replies and let their discomfort breathe, because that's where the real shift lived, in the power of letting silence carry the weight. They kept circling, trying to decode who I'd become. Joe once told me this would happen. That moment when the people who used to talk over you start watching your reactions, like they suddenly mean something. It happened right by the dessert table, exactly where Sienna had left her echo. My younger cousin Ivy, the Ivy League one, obviously tilted her head. Wait, you're the one who built that walnut desk for that tech guy on TikTok. Maybe. No, that was definitely you. And suddenly all eyes were on me, not confused anymore, but recognizing, a little afraid even. Because now I made sense. They hadn't seen me when I was sanding shelves in a borrowed workshop, but once strangers approved, I was real again. I sipped my lemonade, set the cup down gently. Funny, I said. How validation travels faster than memory. No one replied. Natalie appeared beside me. Posture perfect, smile brittle. You didn't have to make it a statement. I didn't, I said. This is just who I am now. She flinched. They never meant to hurt you. I know, I answered softly. They just didn't care if they did. Her eyes dropped to the grass. You're not staying. I've got a shop to open in the morning. You came all this way just to leave again. I smiled. No, I came to make sure I hadn't vanished. When I turned to leave, Sienna was across the lawn, her phone tilted like she might capture a moment she thought belonged to her. I gave her a small nod, the kind that says, not your story anymore, and walked on. The driver opened the limo door. My parents stood where I'd left them, somehow smaller. No one called after me. No one asked me to stay. The door shut with a soft click that sounded like punctuation. Final, but not cruel. As the limo pulled away, the park shrank in the rear window until it was just color and noise. I didn't cry. I didn't shake. I felt clean, like sawdust after a good sanding. Marcus texted again. How'd it go? I typed back, They finally saw me. Then added, and I didn't have to look back. The limo dropped me off just after sunset. The sky was streaked in pink and gold, the kind of light that made even cracked asphalt look sacred. When the driver closed the door, the sound felt conclusive. Not like an ending, but like a seal on something earned. I stood still for a moment, breathing it in. Sawdust, coffee, freedom, my kind of cathedral. Inside, the shop waited exactly as I'd left it. Sketches pinned on the wall, clamps resting like tired soldiers, the faint hum of the fridge guarding my unspoken thoughts. I flipped the switch. The lights buzzed, then glowed, spilling honey across every surface I'd ever built with my hands. No applause, just air, just grace. It was enough. Jo arrived an hour later, Bruno bounding at her feet. She tossed me a burrito and leaned against the workbench. So, tears or explosions? Please tell me explosions. I laughed. Neither. They just stared, like they were watching a stranger crash their family reunion. Jo grinned. Good. You were the headline they never deserved. She bit into her burrito. Bet you looked like a legend walking away. I shrugged. Maybe a quiet one. Quiet power, she said. Loud horn. Bruno barked like an amen. We ate on the stools, legs swinging, grease-stained wrappers crumpled like old chapters. Jo didn't ask how I felt. She knew that kind of question doesn't need words. After a while, I said, they looked at me like I didn't belong. She raised a brow. Did you? I shook my head. Not even close. Good, she said. Means you built something bigger than their table. When she left, I stayed. Didn't turn off the lights. Didn't check my phone. I just was. I flipped open my old sketchbook, the one from that motel years ago. The pages were soft with fingerprints and coffee stains, dust gathered in the spine. Every page was a map, the girl who didn't belong anywhere, carving a place for herself. On the last page, I'd once written, break the cycle. Now, beneath it, I added, done. I pulled a new notebook from the shelf, fresh, untouched, full of hope. On the first page, I wrote, Grain and Grace, Year 3. Below it, a list, not of revenge, but of living. Teach Nico to lead a project from start to finish. Give Ree her own space in the shop. Buy Caleb a new sander. He'll argue. But still, fix the skylight leak before the next rain. Start a coffee table line. Adopt a dog if Bruno approves. I set the pen down. The phone buzzed. An email from Sienna. Amazing press from the reunion photos. Your family is glowing. Let's talk brand collab soon. I stared for a long time, then hit delete. No reply. No explanation. Not my story to sell. Morning light filtered through the skylight, catching on the dust that shimmered like glitter. Marcus walked in, back from his trip, his smile soft but real. Piece looks good on you, he said. It fits, I replied. Perfectly. He ran his hand over the edge of a new table, the kind that takes patience to love. So what's next? I smiled, tying my hair back. Building. Always building. He nodded, no words needed, then handed me a cup of coffee. Let's get to work. We did. Later that night, after everyone was gone, I stood by the open doors, watching the city blur into twilight. The air smelled of cedar and promise. For the first time since that bus stop, I didn't measure success by